Another day, another couch session with my Liv.
And it's December.
Can you believe it?
It's my favourite time of year. Not only because it's Christmas and I love Christmas. I think you all know that I love Christmas. But it's obviously my birthday.
Can't believe
very soon.
Don't you feel we were just sitting here in this exact location like yesterday talking about your 37th and that you didn't like odd numbers and you felt like that was going to be a bit of a qualm? But now 38 is approaching you in the next couple of days.
I think the years are going by faster, which I think we've also spoken about before. Yeah. But this has easily been the quickest year of my life. And I can't really put my finger on what it is.
Yes.
Life is busy. You know, we've obviously had school this first year. There's been lots of change.
Yeah.
But I feel like time has evaporated.
I agree.
And is evaporating.
Yes.
You feel the same?
100%. Like we've literally, I feel like that conversation, that episode that we had, everyone dial back a year ago and you'll hear us talking about Liv's birthday. That feels like last week.
I was joking with somebody a couple of weeks ago that I feel like I have just put down the Christmas tree and now I'm putting it back up.
I was talking about the fact that I had this little puny little 30-centimetre tree that I would put up on the, on the ledge above my TV in South Yarra, in my old house, and we're in a smaller townhouse. And I was always like, oh gosh, I wish, I can't wait till I can have a big tree. And I was saying this to someone the other day where I'm like, finally, now that we've moved, I can have a big tree this year. I'm so excited.
You must be due to pick it up.
Oh, yeah, I know. And so this, actually, we'll do our Christmas special, but just while we're on this, are we into the fresh trees? Because I feel like that's a vibe.
Yeah.
But then someone told me that they can get spiders in them, or like
of course they can get spiders. And I'm allergic to. I love the smell of pine, but I'm allergic to them, so
are you really?
I can't have.
So you can't enter my house.
I can come to your house. I just couldn't live in it 24/7.
Okay.
But I do love that Christmas pine, so I buy Christmas scented candles. Like I'm that person. Like either cinnamon. We're obviously the Christmas spirit's here. We're ready to go. But for every parent, given we are the start of December, Godspeed for those who have elves like I do. Scout is back.
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
Scout.
I'm trying to hold
Scout's
off.
had a great time for the last 11 months. And Scout has a bit of dust on him. But anyway, he's back and he's reporting for duty.
He's ready to
reporting
shine.
back to Father Christmas on the behaviour that goes on in my house.
That is to our benefit. The bribery that we can use with the Christmas spirit.
I'll let you know
Christmas bribery.
next episode how behaviour has changed.
I love that. No, well, I want to hear more. I mean, your birthday's in a few days' time. When you reflect on the year that was, and today we are talking about quite a deep topic for us around loss and, reflecting on people that we've lost in our lives, and also as parents, how that impacts us, and I guess the way in which we even just try to communicate that message and those, those memories to our children, etc. So, but in reflecting on your year, is life different than what you perceived a year ago or even a few years ago?
I have really tried to kind of manifest and be clear and more intentional in the way that I live and less chaotic like we have been the last few years with work and life.
Young children.
So, it is feeling like it's getting, touch wood, it's getting a little easier. 37, odd year, as we said, has been fairly good to me. Life is for living and you shouldn't take each year for granted. Like you get this little cycle of the sun every single year and all too often you can just get lost in just living and doing the day-to-day, and lots of people, in my own personal experience too, haven't had the opportunity to live like we're living. So that kind of just goes back to the general philosophy that I'm trying to live my life with. Don't sweat the small stuff and, get on with it.
I totally agree with that. And it reminds me of, I was in Greece this year, as you know, and there was a relative of ours who always is smiling. I see him on the beach every day. We do 2 beach sessions, morning and afternoon. Every morning he's there. I'd say he's probably in his 50s or 60s. The most beautiful man, says hi to everyone, has this beaming smile. And I was in the water at one time and he came up to me and he swam up to me and he's talking to me in Greek and things, and he's like, how's everything? And I'm like, what about you? How are you going? And he's like, really good. There's a few Oh, and then he left it at that. And I said, oh, so when are you going back to Athens? Because we were at a beachside town. He's like, oh, it would just depend on my health. I'm like, oh, what's going on with your health? Oh, just a few issues. But, that's okay. Look, life's for living, and look where we are. And I left it at that. So I get home and I say to my parents, I saw my uncle, he said something about health complicated. Is he all right? Like, he's always so happy. And so, my parents are like, he's terminally ill. He's actually, he's one of the few men who got breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I actually noticed one of it on his chest. You can see there's a bit of a scar, and it's spread everywhere.
Oh, that's shocking.
And he's terminal, and he doesn't know how long he has. And so his mum said, and even Dad would say, he takes life every day he has on this earth. He just wakes up, and that's what he said to my dad. He's like, every day is a blessing. And look, that is a perspective from a person who's terminally ill, but also what a great perspective for us to all remember and to have. In that he didn't even want to talk. He was just like, a little bit of an illness, but look at where we are. Look at what, and just breathing in life. And I just love that. And then after that, I saw him every morning, and I would just watch him in like wonder, and I'd be like, wow, like that is amazing for you. I love being around people who are just, so incredibly positive. And you don't see it all the time, but.
Well, you have, like when you receive a terminal diagnosis, you have no other job. Thought, and maybe we should, you'd never wish this upon anybody, but the way that you do see people live their life and complete the things on their bucket list, they've got no other choice. No other choice.
And look, to be fair, to some extent, they've had a little bit of warning. I'm good friends with Imogen Khan. She's got Good Mourning podcast. For those of you who are really into, I guess, having some support around death and mourning and things like that, I would absolutely point you to the Good Mourning podcast. They're doing amazing things. Actually, I'll link them in the show notes. But basically, it was started by Imogen and Sal. Both of their mums died suddenly.
Yeah.
And they would always say death is so incredibly devastating every which way. However, there's this utter shock when there's a sudden death like that. You haven't been able to prepare yourself.
Whether it's illness or suicide, it is deeply, deeply challenging for anyone who is experiencing grief.
Yeah.
And grief's different for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, the Good Mourning podcast. I lost, as you know, my friend, my bestie, my other bestie, the other yin to my yang, nearly 5 years ago, Tom. I wear him around my neck. I take him with me everywhere. And I'd lost people prior to losing Tom. I'd lost grandparents. I'd lost some other friends. And in some ways you prepare to lose grandparents. As an example, we all know that our day on this earth is going to come one day. But to lose someone, Tom was terminally ill. We knew that he was going to pass despite his best attempts to survive and live and, really leave an amazing legacy. It's a really hard thing because I still feel really deeply angry that, why did something happen to somebody like him? And as you know, I'm a really philosophical person. I often say to people, everything happens for a reason. And Tom's diagnosis and death really shook me at my core around, my view of how I was living life. The thing that really got me through grief, and my grief is still something that I live with every single day. I find it hard. I always have found it hard to talk about because Tom was somebody's son. He was somebody's brother, and I've never wanted to overstep my grief, or I've had to feel like I keep that quite close to myself because I feel like their loss is so much greater than mine. And you really have to work through that and think about it and talk about it, which, 5 years later of almost, how long have we been doing this? 3 years?
Yeah.
4 years. 4 years to, want to talk about it because, there are, for me now, it's about Tom's legacy, and for us as young people in particular and our listeners, I'm sure everybody knows someone who is unwell or will understand this story, that we've all got to be really, mindful of our health and look for signs. Tom had bowel cancer, and bowel cancer, I think, is one of the leading cancer diagnoses of young people now.
Is it really? It's very aggressive.
It is very aggressive. But the thing about bowel cancer is 99% of it can be treated if it's caught early. So in Tom's legacy today, like that's the message that I know his family want to share, that, you know, listen to your body around any symptom that you might, be able to catch before it's too late. Tom, unfortunately, he told me he didn't listen to his body. He had symptoms that he eventually went to the doctor for when he was really, really sick and in pain. And the hospital sent him away because they thought it was a few other things. But he was so sick that he went back. They did further tests, and, you know, he worked through his illness for a number of years, but unfortunately it was stage 4 by the time that they found it. So, I think that's a really important thing. And there are just so many different charities and social enterprises and foundations who are doing incredible work. And we've done our own fundraising many years ago for breast cancer, because we know it touches so many different people that, the more we talk about it and raise awareness and get people, particularly men, like young men, to take their health seriously and not push through. Like if there's something wrong, you intrinsically know that there's something wrong.
It's not the she'll be right mentality, like it will go away or something.
The other thing I was just going to say before I got so sidetracked in all things Tom was, the one thing, and I was actually sharing this with a girlfriend who lost a friend suddenly by suicide recently, that the thing that gets you through, or has got me through the grief, is that person, no matter how they've died, never wants you to dwell and wallow and be desperately sad and not be able to push on. So that's literally got me through those days where I'm like, this is not fair, or I just want to cry, or just want to feel sad. Like, he wouldn't want that for me, for his family. He wants us to live. And, you know, having that person's legacy is really, really important.
Do you ever feel like signs of, I often hear, so I think the only person that, I've lost many people in my life, but certainly the one that was the strongest for me was my grandmother. She basically brought me up from the age of 0 to 7, or when I was very young to 7. And my parents worked a lot, so she was kind of like a pseudo mother for me. She passed away from breast cancer. And what Liv was alluding to earlier was that, what was it, probably 10 years ago now, but we had Liv and I had sort of organised this charity black tie ball to raise money for breast cancer, and it was really great. But that's where that sort of stemmed from for me, because I'd lost someone so dear. And I just remember, like, even just elements throughout your life, do you ever notice, like, I used to, every time I'd always see like a coin or something, and I used to be like, I'd get a chill. Like, I don't know, it sounds really random.
No, like I'm thinking about the times that I like look up at the sky and I'm like, give me a sign.
Yeah. Do you ever
we have a special place where we scattered his ashes. And when I'm feeling a bit lost or sad, or that I need a sight, like, I will go to this spot and I'll ask a question, and then I like look for ducks or ripples in the water or a butterfly, because I'm looking for that. I definitely feel like there have been a couple of times, or, you know, whether it's a sunset or something, that you feel him, you know, I feel him there. I did have a really vivid dream a couple of years ago where I was walking down, you know, the main street in Ivanhoe, where Tom and I would hang out all the time, as you know, and he walked up the street and gave me a hug, and I could feel him.
Really?
I woke up feeling him, smelling him.
Wow.
And that's probably the one time that I think he came and visited me that night. Like, that's probably my biggest example of he was there.
That's the thing. There are definitely moments, I think, where people, I believe that, like, they do sort of visit and they're there to support. Have you ever seen, like, because I know even when I get my tarot cards read, or often it's by a tarot/medium, and then they will bring up things like my grandmother as well. She's here. I feel like there's this woman here, and they'll bring her up. Have you ever? Cause
I've never done that,
okay,
but I absolutely would love to do it. I'm scared of doing it. I don't know what I'm scared of. I just have never been able to. I think we've spoken about it a lot. Like, every time you talk about it, I'm like, I must do that. It just sounds fascinating. I'm, you know, quite interested as to what I might experience or learn. But going to actually make the booking, I'm too scared.
Okay. So I know I'm big on that.
You might have to book it for me.
Done.
I don't know.
But there's something about getting my tarot cards read where it's like these things, be mindful of this or be, whatever. I like that. It gives me a level of certainty. My sisters and I are all sort of a little bit obsessed with stuff like that. It's like our little spiritual outlet, I guess, but often, you know.
And what are the messages that you get? Can you share that?
Yeah, like it's kind of like, you know, you're in the right direction with this. And, or like, you know, for example, there were times where I was like, even this podcast, I'm like, is this, you know, I love it, but there's an element of work that's involved, and is it sustainable? Is it, you know, but I know I love it. And then I'd go and see the tarot card reader. They're like, you're on the right path sort of thing. And it's almost like, anyone could tell me that, but she's told me that, and I'm like, come on.
I believe you. You know,
that's what I need to hear. Motivation.
And maybe that's what you need to hear.
That's what I need to hear.
Because you know that within yourself anyway.
That's exactly right.
And if that's just the validation that you're looking for.
That is what it is.
Whether it's true, whether you're a skeptic. I mean, I love hearing, you know, I think a couple of the local radio stations have, these people, I don't even know what they're called.
The mediums or the tarot card people,
that come in, and it's fascinating.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
and the amazing things that they'll come up, but there's certain times where you're like, you couldn't have known that information. So as in they will bring things up that I'm like, you couldn't have known that. So that's when I'm like, that's not on the internet. That like they mentioned once that like, I see you as a girl and you have the 2 plaits in your hair, and then there's this woman standing behind you and she's, you know, she's an older woman and blah, blah. And I'm like, there's just, and I'm hearing the word like, it's a different language. It's like, something like, or something. And I was literally like in tears because I was like, wait, what? Like, how do you know? And like, and I was like, I always have my hair in 2 plaits, like certain thing. And then like, this woman is saying this or this is happening. And so I'm such a
Have you seen a
believer.
Couple?
I've seen a couple of them. Yes.
And do you now go to the same one?
Yeah, like, it's interesting. So the one that I saw of that mentioned that story, who I loved, her wait list is like 8 months now.
Wow.
Yeah, incredible. So I'm seeing her in 2 weeks actually. So I'll debrief after that, guys. But it's literally like maybe 4 times a year. I'll just sort of check in. So if I can't get in with her, I saw one when I was in the States. I saw and all through recommendations, often through my sisters, because I would never just Google it. It has to be recommended.
And do you book in at a point where I just feel like I need some guidance?
Yes. And then it's like usually 3 to 4 week wait for the good ones, and then you get your So if you ever feel like you need that extra support,
no, I'm working up to it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's not for everyone, but I feel like you'll know if it's for you. What I want to know is, were there any resources or, you know, anything that you did for yourself? Because I'm thinking about those who might be listening, who are sitting there going, yes, I'm mourning a loved one, or I'm struggling because someone I know and love is, you know, very ill, etc. What can I do to support myself in that moment?
Okay, so many things are coming to mind. Good Mourning, the podcast. They have also just released a beautiful book. They also are building a really amazing community. They do really good posts where it's just, it could ask a question like, have you seen a sign? And people share their stories. I get a lot of comfort. Yeah. You know, because we've all experienced loss, and it manifests in different ways and we feel it in different ways, but we can come together. Yeah. And that's, to answer the other side of the question, which was also going through my mind, which is often a question that I get asked of, you know, my friend has just lost somebody. How can I support them? Yep. And, you know, you might have heard this before, but one of the best things that you can do is just keep their memory alive. It's often so difficult to talk about the person who has gone or lost their life, but the person experiencing the grief, more often than not, you do have to tread carefully, wants to talk about how they're feeling and share stories. And, that provides a really beautiful, continuation and way of grieving really openly and carefully, if you feel safe to do so with whoever you're sharing it with.
And just on that, let's talk about the children then. So Tommy was just, and no surprises there.
So Tommy, namesake. So Tom was named after Tom.
So Tom, who is Liv's child, was named after Tom, Liv's best friend who passed. Yeah. How do you keep the memory alive for Tom? Or is it too hard to because they're so little?
Well, how's this? Tom passed away on Tom's first birthday.
Oh, wow.
And I still remember going into the hospital that day saying to Tom, who I knew we were in, you know, the real twilight hours, it's Tom's birthday today, Tom. Like, not today, not
hold
today.
On. Yeah.
And he moved and made a sound, which was, oh my God, like, I'm not going to do this to you. It's now for me, a really romantic thing. Tom passed away very late at night on the 9th of January, and I believe that he was doing his darndest to get to the 10th.
Yeah.
But it is a romantic thing for Tommy. So, yeah, we started a thing in the early years that, Tom would have his birthday candles. We blow out, we sing happy birthday, and then we put an extra candle on for Tom,
that's
our
so
Tom that we
nice.
lost.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful, storytelling time to relive that. And we talk about Tom in the sky and Tom in the river and, guardian angel. And, I think Tom has he asks healthy questions about life and death, and I don't hide that from him.
Yeah.
I let him ask the questions. I don't give any more information. I just answer very plainly, what happened to Tom. Tom got sick. Why couldn't the doctors help? We deal through all of that. That's just my approach to it.
Yeah.
But, that I think is a really nice thing for Tom and I to kind of work through.
That's amazing. Yeah, I honestly credit to you, because some people would say, well, they're so little, how do you, and so that's, good tips as well for those of you who are like, how do I still keep that person's memory alive in our household?
Yeah, we have photos. And one of the things that I was most worried about when Tom passed away was I'm going to forget him. That's really common for people. Like, no doubt you feel the same about your grandma and other people that, are in your life who, might be unwell. I created a beautiful book where I write down all of my memories, and I'm still writing today.
Wow.
It's got his face on the front cover, and just these random things come into my brain about, remember that time when we did this absolute crazy thing? And I just capture that so that that's my mechanism to make sure that I never forget, which is just a fear more than anything, because you don't forget. The memories, do last. They might fade, but they will always, be with me and, all the people that loved him.
Yeah, absolutely. They last a lifetime. Well, I hope that was, firstly, thanks, Liv. Honestly, we've barely spoken about your experience because, in a way, I was that friend that was like, tread carefully, don't ask questions. I know what an impact that experience had on your life.
Distract, go do fun things, keep life going.
And at some point you'll come to me and tap me on the shoulder and be like, I'm ready to talk, but everyone feels uncomfortable when we talk about death.
It's a really, really difficult thing.
Absolutely.
All you can do is ask, do you want to talk about him today? Or her or whoever it might be. Yeah. That would be the question that I'd encourage people to ask rather than going straight in.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah.
And they will say yes or no, depending on whether it's a good day or a bad day, because they can come like a roller coaster.
Absolutely.
For family and friends.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that was supportive for those listening as well. And thank you again for being so open, and we'll catch you next time.
Get your bowels checked, people.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.